got Rek'Sai and Lee Sin on blue side with a power bot lane. I think it's got to be the Rek'Sai here for Jankos. You know, G2 already sort of saying they want to pop off around 1 and 2 items here and shut down Hansama, a player who has been so pivotal for this Rogue lineup. You know, he feels like he's got this, you know, resurgence of confidence again, going for these crazy flashes, tower dives, the works. You guys have all seen the highlight reels just out of 4 games of footage so far this led. So G2's goal is going to be to shut him down.
And you know what helps protect the AD carry? Something like his arm catch. Now, it's not always the most exciting thing. He's not going to make flashy plays, not going to make flashy hooks, but what he can do is gobble up that AD carry and get him away from a hook from the Nautilus, get him away from the spears from the Callista, or even from a knockup from Rek'Sai. So I like the pick if you expect G2 to play around bottom here. Rogue is saying, okay, we can protect our AD carry a little bit more. Volibear will be banned out. I assume it's a good matchup into the Ornn, although Ornn can survive a lot of matchups.
Yeah, the thing about Volibear is he wins most top lane matchups, especially against tanks or against other bruiser champions. He's very strong there, so I like the idea from Rogue. Corki, get it out of here. Larson loves himself some Corki. Rogue are building up that Teamfight identity so far in their compositions. That would make a lot of sense to me.
Oh, instead it's going to be the Graves.
Okay, I mean, it follows a very similar footprint, I think, whereas, you know, if Rogue wanted to really double down in the jungle and take an option that maybe doesn't match up super well against Rek'Sai early on, where Rek'Sai is going to be spammed around mid lane with the CC setup and also to impact bot lane too.
And we're going to have a Kayle in the top lane here for Wonder as well. It's a little surprising to see Kayle brought out. She hasn't had the best of times throughout the course of summer season, but Wonder is a very strong top lane player, and into an Ornn, you get a pretty safe lane.
Yeah, we sort of talked about this, because I think Kryze was the player that picked it into the Ornn, and it didn't work out as well as they would have liked to, of course, last week. But this Kayle is like the ultimate equalizer to the Olaf pick. Like, Kayle will laugh in the face of Olaf past probably like 1 item, you know, and you can just travel with Kayle as that late game insurance. So G2 is going to be all focused around killing mid lane and sending Caps to roaming towards that bottom lane, whereas Inspired needs to try and limit Jankos' impact on the map, so Larson and Hansama can get to the right.
G2 once again going with what appears to be an aggressive style. They want to get kills away more quickly. We'll see if Caps' Twisted Fate can do it for them. I'm going to have a quick look see when the last time he played it was, because it can't have been recently, maybe even back on his Fnatic days, because we have seen a rise in TF across the world, as you said. You know, it's been interesting to watch, and I'm sure we'll have more interesting things to see in this game as G2 take on Rogue. So Caps has played Twisted Fate twice at Rift Rivals 2019. Apart from that, he's never played it. So I think we just count those out.
Did he win those games?
Well, no, because G2 lost one of them, didn't they?
Oof, yeah, that's what I was trying to intend.
Wasn't great. I do want to have a quick talk about Rogue, though, before we really jump on into the action, because a big thing that a lot of people are saying, you know, is like, Rogue are top of the league, number 1, 4-0, they're doing really well, and I don't want to discredit the performance they've had so far, but if you look at the games they've got coming up, I'm a little worried for this team. You've got G2 today, Fnatic next week, Mad Lions, and then Origin. And if they can get out of this, you know, 7-1, 6-2, I'm ready to jump aboard the hype train.
Sure, I think I'm not worried for Rogue. I'm excited to see how Rogue can perform against these teams, because the question is, are they the real deal with a relatively easy strength of schedule in their first 4 matches? And even if they beat G2, like, everyone's just gonna be like, that's no problem, but he wants to cycle through these 3 camps, which tells me he's going to be playing around the top side a little bit more. You know, if you're forsaking your Krugs, right, and you want to make sure your base respawn quickly, that's a higher EXP immediately, because those camps spawn after 2.5 minutes, as opposed to the 5 minutes on the buff, and that's why he would delay the blue buff here, on top of the fact he doesn't need mana, right?
Yeah, that's actually really insightful. I hadn't thought of it in that sort of degree, so we'll see if Jankos...
He was mid lane. He just gave up on it entirely. He's like, my jungler's camping top lane. I don't know what he's doing up there. Caps gets it down towards bot side. It was also really pivotal, you know, if we can get a replay of that, how Caps was able to juke out one of the first axes that came on towards him, because we'll see this one more time. The lane is pushed up. Rogue know that Jankos is top side, so they feel comfortable to push here. They also have a couple of TPs, but don't bring in the Ornn immediately, so Hansama, after the Devour is blown, will get knocked out, and that's where Inspired's like, I gotta get running down over here. He thinks he can make something happen. No flash, importantly, on the Olaf, and watch this as Caps flashes away here, because he has the Nimbus Cloak too, which allows him to sidestep that really nicely. If he doesn't dodge that, that is quite likely a kill. Of course, he does have the gold card primed, but Larson would be able to follow up on some damage, and Olaf would be able to pick up an axe. So, nice stuff, and there, Inspired cuts through that aftershock because he's got the true damage.
And that's one of those as the support there, you're very okay with dying. Like you're saying, okay, I will go in with a hook. I expect to die here, but if we get a kill on my AD carry, that's just so much more beneficial for the team. I will bring attention to the fact that Vander has died. It's the first time this split he has died. I'm very sorry to say that. It means Reckless is the only unkilled player in our league, and he still has a game to play today against Origin. So we'll see if he can keep up that record, but for now he is sole owner of that spot. Wayne pushing in here in the bottom lane as Inspired once again is sitting around at the corner. But Jankos is
More willing to go for that one. I'm curious whether or not G2 would start the Drake here. I don't think you can. Against the a little too strong.
What I love from G2 here is how much time they bought from Inspired. They're like, Inspired, you know, you want to keep getting stuff. You want to keep trying to get one behind you. You've already tanked it once. You've got a touch, you've got a TP, you want to do stuff. G2 are like, hey, we're going to continually force fights in the bottom lane for the next 5 minutes, and we'll see if you can ever go top again. Yeah, if you do, cool, you kill Wonder, we get 3 kills on the bottom side of the map. It's actually just really intelligent for them to keep forcing the tempo away from Wonder, who's now level 7 and has almost a 26 lead over Fit.
Yeah, and that's a great game plan from G2, but I want to give credit one more time to Inspired for understanding that that is exactly what G2 are going for, because that almost resulted in a lot more for G2, and he's been able to stem the bleeding a bit. Now, I will say, because he died in that play earlier on, where we were expecting him to be out-leveling Jankos, he has now just ticked over to level 6. Jankos has an entire level lead, because he's just taken pretty much every single skull grab. This entire game has 15 CS advantage. Well, he's down in kills, and it's an item lead over towards Inspired. Granted, Jankos still has money to spend here. This bodes very well for that sort of mid lane 2 versus 2, where G2 want to unlock caps further to get around the map instead of dive alongside Jankos.
Right now, the Rogue mid lane jungle start up this Rift Herald. There's a big swap that has come out. Hans Summer's been drawn to the mid lane. Vander's here as well. And the Rift Herald will be claimed, but Perks is just free pushing in the bottom lane while all of this is happening.
Yeah, and this is just G2 saying we want to trade objectives on the other side of the map. We don't necessarily need to go for the fight right now. A lot of that has to be sort of spurred on by the fact that Jankos has not gone for a base just yet, and also Kayle needs some more time before she has the same relevancy within a fight as Finn would on the Ornn. So there will be solo plates going into Perks' pockets, but at the same time, Inspired has that Rift Herald, which he can drop once they get this turret just a little
bulky. And because of the bulwark on the bot lane tower, Perks wasn't able to work his way through that in time.
So I think it is important to sort of look at the dynamic of how this trade plays out, because it is Rogue with the proactive play to take the Herald. They get the plates up in the top side, but the gold is split between Inspired and Larson, whereas it all went on to Perks. So Perks now has about a 1k lead over Hansam, which is exactly what you want, and they continue to play around this bottom side, where Perks is just free hitting the tower the whole time.
Oh, Call of Portugal's going to come out here. The Abyssal Boy has been used as well, but that's quite a defensive one. Now the turret, are they strong enough? Are they far enough ahead at this point to allow the Kayle to then bridge them into the later portion of the game? Or do we expect that Kayle, just as soon as she hits level 16, to be able to take over this match?
Yeah, well, I think that G2 don't necessarily have to have this giant lead right early on, because I think it is mid-game where their comp is really going to excel playing around side lanes. When Wonder has, finished off his Hextech Gunblade, he's going to match up very well against the Ornn, and in a similar story like both Kayle on TF now, that the ramp-up time for that movement speed has been reset. Yeah, you also, if you get takedowns, the ghost duration extends, so if you land one gold card that gets a pick, maybe you land a second one. That could get a little bit fun here as Jankos finds Sway Time.
Finn trying to get underneath the turret will be there for now, but Jankos just flashes in and there's a kill. G2 4-2 up now. And Inspired is on the other side of the map.
Yeah, so right now Wonder has TP. Caps doesn't quite have the damage at this point in the match, and probably aware that Caps is going to be able to enter soon.
It's just a pretty tricky one as well when you've got depth charge, when both Perks greedy from Perks and a good capitalization from Rogue.
Yeah, so right there, Perks goes over the wall, not having any vision inside of the river. So Vander showed up at the right moment with both the Devour to block a ton of the damage coming through from Kalista, but more importantly, the exhaust that completely shuts down Perks right there, and he ends up paying the price. Now Rogue look for the dive.
Almost gets the damage down onto Caps. The final big one was healed away there by Perks. Perfect synergy between them.
He's doing very well for himself, and you can see G2, even though Caps has been all over the map doing a great job farming up in their solo lanes, but more importantly, Jankos, a full level and a half lead over Inspired. The expectation coming out of Champ Select was that Inspired always has a half level lead at least over the Rex side, but that is not the case this game.
Oh, Mickey tries to land the root. Larson just deletes Perks.
Who needs a jungler when you have mid laners that are never in mid lane? I love it. Larson comes flying down into the bottom side of the map, and they find another kill, but Caps may be looking for a play himself. I don't think you want to commit to this without Perks around, though.
Wonder is level 11, so he does have the enhanced auto attacks, range and a bit of AoE when you get towards that, I think it's 6 stack mark on the Kayle. But the dragon has been started up. It's golden. Jankos survives. Larson caught out his face as well as Cap splashes forward. And G2 might not have got the dragon, but they darn well got the fight.
It's a 4v5 too that G2 are perfectly happy committing towards. Again, they have such an advantage in terms of experience, and that turns into stats. Although Cap's without an ultimate here is just going to zoom.
Damn, I could have gotten
that.
9 Blade
Inspired
Masters.
clearly not too happy with that one. Tried to catch Cap's recalling inside the base, but that is a big momentum push here for the side of G2, who are now up 5,000 gold. And while you say, yes, maybe this has delayed a potential Infernal Soul for them by 5 minutes, they have the advantage now to be able to continue pushing the gas and making it must get more time under their belts before they can contest.
We are at a point of the game as well, and we'll get underneath the turret. And that's another easy kill for G2, and that's why you can't freeze in this situation, because if you try to, you just get collapsed on by G2, and they're very good at finding you out. They still have the Rift Emerald. Larson is looking for bottom tier 2 here, but I think all you're telling me is that support's on power. Twisted Fate. He's gone for Exhaust Flash right now, though, and the dragon is up in about 8 seconds time, Ender, but as you said, it feels like G2 have an opportunity to style here for a few minutes as they wait for their next major objective. 7,000 gold up. Rogue, though, playing around Vision once again. We've seen them do this in the past, and it has worked out for them so far this in summer, but they can't quite seem to find anyone right now.
Well, it's really hard, too, with their composition, because how do you... is that they don't have the tools to be able to slow things down?
And right now, Inspired is getting chased out of his own jungle. Just hold him, you say, but wonder in G2 that 3-0'd Fnatic in the finals is still not quite their former selves. I think we still hold a little bit of hesitation, but this week of G2 looks so much better than last.
Well, Medic, it's gonna come all down to this. Corki has the package. Larson wants to get into this fight, but there's no jungler, and there's also Callista on G2.
Just steal it anyway. Moonlight Mitchell! Whoa, the Infernum damage does a huge amount. Here comes the package as well, but the Sun Card's gonna land. Wonder chased off by the Baron itself, and Hans Summer splashing forward. He gets 1, he gets 2, it all comes down to this set Ender, and Rogue are not willing to give it up yet. They find 2 kills. Jankos gonna take out Larson, but Hans Summer is still on the chase. Jankos trying to get to the blast cone, won't get there in time. Hans Summer takes the kill, and Rogue can look towards the Baron.
I want to be very clear with this. Rogue had absolutely no business winning a team fight down that much. But this match, it has given them much needed time again to get towards their level ups.
Only getting towards those 3 items, getting towards those full builds on Rogue. You've got Infinity Edge Runans and parts of a Death Stance for Hans Summer. You've got the Death Stance already complete on Larson. Finn almost has a passive. It's level 12, so he's getting that a little bit more out of the fullness of Ornn's kit. And if Rogue can delay and keep the gold lead, you know, within 7,000, within 6,000, they do have a chance of getting back.
Wow, dude.
So this is gonna be the pick on.
We need our Zed to go on this,
again,
dude.
Not a lot he can do with this. Like, look at the vision inside the jungle. Like, there's control ward so far up here that Inspired doesn't really have any business being there in that side of the jungle. Also can't use the blast plant to get out because he has ult. But watch this again. Hansama over the wall with the Infernum does so much upfront damage, catching, I believe, all 5 members of G2, absolutely nuking them. Perks has to flash away, and then it's that package which divides the fight straight in half. This is beautiful because it means that Wonder and Nikki have to run upwards instead of towards their base, which ends up resulting in a whole lot of kills there for G2 once the chase down came through. Or for Rogue, rather, kills.
That was a joke.
Disclaimer.
/S at the end of that. But yes, the inhibitor respawning does allow Rogue just that little bit more freedom on the map. It means they don't have the super minions pushing in top.
Now here's the thing, is G2 have been slowed down a bit. And remember, when they lost that Mountain Drake earlier on, it added 5 minutes to the timer of the Infernal Soul, which is a big team, or which is a big deal for a composition that's trying to really pop off around that mid-game. And again, I say that's because a lot of their champions are mid-game champions. Kayle, of course, does wonderful things later on and is already in her late game with 3 items completed, and that's going to be a problem for Rogue very clearly. But how Rogue have played a couple times now have kept them in this match, and we've seen how ridiculous Corki can also be. One of the strengths of Corki 2 up against the Kayle is that you can outrange that Kayle in later on fights, and when she drops her ultimate down, that is the only way to beat a Kayle, is to either have like a billion CCs or be able to outrange her, and that's where Aphelios with, you know, a Calibrum can come into play, or with his ultimate, and of course that Corki 2.
issue is going to be that Wonder is almost level 16.
Yeah.
That Finn is.
All those points would be great if the goal was even. But the fact that Teamfight just check in on Wonder one more time, okay, that is now a 5,000 goal lead. But I will say that Larson is right on par with him. So again, trying to keep up in those games.
Caps is the same as Wonder, Perks is the same as Wonder as well. So same.
Just let me say that the players on the team have done well, okay?
They have done well. They have done well. We should, as you say, we should definitely give them credit for the ability to stick in this game, especially around that bound fight. And maybe they will find it again. Maybe they'll find that special something that means that Wonder's caught out, or they can burst him before he gets his ultimate.
Yeah. The other important thing is G2 are struggling to close, and I don't think it's a problem necessarily with how G2 are playing, but more the nature of their composition, because they can actually force fights if Rogue are pushing a little bit inside lanes, but the fact is they destroyed all the turrets outside the base, so now they have to take a fight to Rogue, which we still feel like they're going to win on their current itemization.
Oh, that guy's
haven't felt
eliminated.
super comfortable just freely starting up.
That's good. That free stuff up
and,
for me.
of course, still waiting on that Infernal.
Destiny coming out. Yeah, here's the force. The flank position, and here is the force fight. As you say, Cap's going to get the red card in there. Ragnarok coming out from Inspired as well. Vanda's going to flash across the wall, and Rogue are able to disengage. Now, Finn.
G2 obviously have to be careful without a lot of ultimates coming into if Rogue are able to engage right here, but no flash on Hans or Vander in the next 5 minutes means Infernal Drake is possible. Caps has Ghost and Flash.
Yep,
Yakos
I lined up
has
for
his
him.
Flash too, so all these
Oh,
tools
he
are going
blocked
to be
me.
very hard for Hansama and Vander to deal with in the next fight, and that is where they need to regroup, sort of turtle up, and figure out how do we actually
We need
approach these
Urgot to
neutral
come in,
objectives,
dude.
which could very well be game ending.
We need
Especially with the
Urgot,
Infernal
dude.
Sword coming up in 3 minutes' time, and you can hear
Oh, we win.
you force Rogue to step out of their base. Either you
No
give up the
Urgot,
Infernal and
but
you say,
whatever.
not
Around for every single one.
I'm an
It's
optimist,
fucking-
you know?
For sure.
Hasn't taken over the game until
Urgot.
Rogue give up hope, and they have yet to do that. They are standing firm outside their base.
One thing that Hans has, which in a lot of games isn't going to be the biggest problem, but here when Caps is going to be eyeing you out and trying to find you, and the card could be a problem, especially now that he has the Zonias, because what I've seen from a lot of Twisted Fate worlds is they get aggressive with the Twisted Fate ults. And, you know, when you have a Zonias, that makes it look really good. You just drop a gold card onto a backliner, you pop the Zonias, then you can maybe flash away if needed, or your team regroups behind you. So Hans and Larson need to be on top of that. And, of course, Vander watching to devour any targets that get CC'd.
Did see the first ornament upgraded there for Han Summer. Wonder, what? Okay, he just jumps on in. Han Summer and Finn get out. Sorry, and yeah, Finn gonna try and defend
Vander's
this,
not here!
Vander is not here to save Han Summer.
Oh, yeah,
and,
that's big.
Even the Forge God will not save you now. We're gonna try and collapse onto this, but Finn is dead. Perks continues to jump amongst the rest of the Rogue players. Caps is stepping forward, and it's has to be Larson knocked up goal up by Vander, spat back towards the fencing, but he can't do much to save his team now. Perks are exhausted. He has stepped a little bit too far. Caps once again looking for the Larson's getting the package. Somehow still alive, eventually Larson taken out as well. Wonder didn't even need to take over the game because the G2 were there to back him up. G2, well, they had a very strong early game. Their mid-game, perhaps a slight decision-making problem at the Baron, but once again, they find their form, they find their fight, and they will find their third win here in summer.
Nobody's undefeated anymore in the LECR. Top end looking very competitive still, especially with this strong win coming through from G2. At the same time, I want to say, let's not diffuse all the hype for Rogue just yet. You know, the first 4 games, we talked about it, weren't necessarily the strongest strength of schedule for them to face off against. These next 3 following, going to be a big test for the team. I think they'll all be disappointed with how this match went for them, but this may be a bit of a wake-up call, too, that you need to have more plays in your playbook, and you can't just always go the hard scaling, you know, Teamfight route.
It's definitely true, and we'll see if Rogue can change things up a little bit for next week. You can vote for key player of the game,
Oh,
though,
GG,
at
Bo.
LEC on Twitter. Wonder, Yankos, and Caps are your options. I think they're all very good options. There are lots of different available choices for you. In fact, there are three of them. Wonder, Yankos, and Caps. Yeah, coming
Well,
up
in
next,
that
it's our
time-
match of the week. It's Fnatic and Origin hitting the ring.
The thing about Fnatic, the way to beat them is to just purely play discipline. You need to play not smart against the players, or they will punish you.
I kind of need to kill Lulu, so...
For that unorthodox or a bit more risky pick, and why sometimes it was in a situation where nothing's happening, they're waiting for the right moment, but a team like ourselves used to be very few right moments. We have been improving and hopefully to take us much.
Fucking death happy. Now he instantly ults, dude. That's huge. Pog, dude. I finally want to